flowers on the floor, some little lanes. After that, she put all her beautiful diamonds on her, and everybody repeated that. Welcome in this new episode of the Versailles Chronicles special Winter and New Year. Before we continue to explore the adventures of our hero, the Duc de Lauzun, both in France and America, we are going to follow him during the ball season in Paris and London, because winter is the really big season for balls. We will also follow him with his friends as he is organizing some sleigh rides in the Park of Versailles. You will also meet a duchess who had been under the spell of a bad fairy since her birth, and you will see why Marie-Antoinette refused to give presents to her children in December 1783. The winter 1771 had been a very cold winter, and a lot of snow had fallen in Versailles and Paris, which gave the idea to all the young gentlemen of the court to organize some sleigh ride in the park. They went to the stables warehouse, where they found a lot of old sleighs which belonged to Le Dauphin, who was Louis XV's son and Louis XV's father, and they decided to put them out and also to make new ones for those who didn't have sleighs. So there was le Duc de Lauzun, his very good friend le Duc de Chartres, that you will meet more in our next episode, and a few other gentlemen of the court who didn't want to miss such a delightful entertainment. Of course, their sleighs were not normal sleighs, they were of all sizes and shapes, extremely richly decorated with gold. Their horses were all very richly dressed, and all of these gentlemen invited princesses and beautiful ladies from the court. There was Marie-Antoinette, her friend la Princesse de Lamballe was there too, and a few other ladies. Let's hear what Madame Campan in her memoirs writes about these sleigh rides at Versailles and Paris.
Le bruit des sonnettes et des grelots dont les harnais des chevaux étaient garnis, l'élégance et la blancheur des panaches, la variété des formes de ces espèces de voitures, l'or dont elles étaient toutes rehaussées, rendaient ces parties agréables à l'œil.
These parades with all these beautiful sleighs of all sizes and shapes, with these beautifully dressed princesses and ladies in these sleighs, and all these gentlemen with their furry coats and embroidered outfits, impressed all the spectators when they see them. And the gentlemen of the court decided to extend their races and rides beyond Versailles, and they even went to les Champs-Élysées. But after a while they had to stop these rides because of all the criticism which started to appear. At this time Marie-Antoinette is not queen yet, she is la Dauphine, but she already receives a lot of criticism not from really the French people, but from people from Versailles, from the court. They say that she was forcing Austrian entertainments to French people, so really unfair criticism, because all those sleighs belonged to her father-in-law, and they had been in Versailles for many years, so she didn't come to France with her sleighs. But unfortunately this beautiful and winter delight had to stop because of all those criticism. In the 18th century, winter is the season of balls, and le Duc de Lauzun adores all sorts of entertainments of all kinds, which includes balls, masked ball, parades. He loves all of those. And he's always invited to all these balls. When he's in Paris or in London, he receives several invitations every night to go to balls, especially during the winter 1773 in London, which had been magnificent. There were so many beautiful balls to go to, and le Duc de Lauzun's schedule is full to the brim, he goes to all those he can, but it can't be everywhere. And one of the most spectacular balls which had been given by Lord Stanley, who decorated his entire home with flowers, with curtains, draperies. He also covered all the walls of his ballroom with mirrors, with very large mirrors, which reflected both the dancers and all the chandeliers and candelabras, and the result was absolutely beautiful. But among all those wonderful balls which had been given during these years, there is one ball which wins the first prize. You're going to see why. And it had been given in 1770 in Paris to celebrate the wedding of Le Comte de Provence, one of Louis XVI's brother, and his wife. The theme of the party was also countryside, gardens, shepherd, shepherdess, and the Duc de Lauzun had been invited with his wife Amélie to this ball. They didn't do a lot of things together, but this time they went together. And before we join them, you need to meet la Duchesse de Mazarin. Louise Jeanne de Durfort de Duras, Duchesse de Mazarin, she had a lot of other titles, was a very special lady. You want to know her. She was very rich, very beautiful. She had been the mistress of Le Prince de Conti that you have already met in our first episode of the Versailles Chronicles. They even had a daughter together, and she is a big supporter of art, promoter of artists. In France in the 18th century, writers, philosophers, musicians, poets, painters need the support of women from the noble class to succeed. They can't ignore them. All these ladies are gatekeepers. They all have salons where everybody meets, and they have a lot of power and a lot of influence to decide who is going to succeed and who is not going to succeed. So all these gentlemen who want to succeed, they are mainly gentlemen in this artistic and literature field, they need their support. And this lady, la Duchesse de Mazarin, was a very big supporter of artists. But her life was a constant disaster. It had been said that a bad fairy had cast a bad spell at her birth, which followed her entire life. Whatever she does and whatever works for others never works for her. Everything around her turns into a constant disaster. For example, there was a trend at the time to wear all your beautiful diamonds in parties. She decides to imitate all these ladies who do that. She put all her beautiful diamonds on her, and everybody repeated that she looked like a chandelier. She had a lot of wit, but in the conversation she never failed to say the most awkward thing possible. She was very rich, and people constantly repeat that she was tight and mean. When she tries to organize a concert in her place, the musical director breaks his leg. When she gives a supper, there is a fire which starts in the kitchen. Well, you see, being a guest at la Duchesse de Mazarin's place is a very dangerous adventure. And this time, the Duc de Lauzun and his wife Amélie and many other people from the court, la Princesse de Lamballe, of course, le Comte et la Comtesse de Provence were there too. A lot of people were there. And this time, she decided to organize something even more crazy than she had done in the past. It takes place in her hotel, her private hotel, Quai Malaquais in Paris. She decides to divide her two very large salons in two parts. One side is for all the guests who are coming. The other side is the decor. So you have a countryside decor with some trees, some flowers on the floor, some little lanes, even a cascade which is working. There are some dancers which have been hired from the opera who are there too. Some sheep, many sheep, a cow, a real cow, and a dog. And the dancer was supposed to do a sort of ballet at some point, and at the beginning everything works perfectly well. It's so pretty and beautiful with this cascade, the sheep, the shepherdess, it's all wonderful. But the cow lost patience. She jumps into this double-sided mirror. She breaks the mirror in thousands of pieces. Everybody is scared. All the ladies are scared of this mad cow who is following them. The sheep go in all directions. They try to hide under the ladies' dresses and skirts. The dog follows the sheep. It's an absolute mess. You can see La Princesse de Lamballe, who had found a refuge on a mantelpiece. There is La Comtesse de Provence, Marie-Antoinette's sister-in-law, who is dying of love. She's laughing and laughing, seeing all this mess and all these animals going in all directions, people afraid. It's a complete, absolute mess. And at some point they decide at least maybe to have their supper when they realized that half of the meal of the beautiful food which had been prepared had landed on the wood floor. And this little party, organized by La Duchesse de Mazarin, had costed her 80,000 livres, which is a huge amount of money for the time. In the 18th century, Christmas is not really celebrated, it's just a religious service where you go to, there is no tree, no presents, no gifts, nothing special. The real important day of the year is the 1st of January. This is a very important day where you go to meet the people you like, your family, your friends, you bring presents, you can have a nice meal. It's really a festive day. And among the presents you can offer, it can be fruits, it can be food, it can be money, silverware, it can be art or any sort of things, including oranges. Oranges are very trendy. We are going to see what an artist in the 18th century who kept his diary during pretty much his entire life writes on January 1st. His name is Jean-Georges Ville. He was an engraver of Louis XV and he wrote his diary almost his entire life, so every 1st of January he explained what happens. It's very interesting to see what almost normal people, he belonged to the bourgeois class of the society, but still his diary gives us a very accurate vision of what the 1st of January was in Paris in the 18th century.
January 1st, 1784. A lot of people came to wish us a happy new year. My son gave me some drawings he made with 3 beautiful woman heads. He offered similar ones to his mother. It delighted me. Madame Contouli, our niece, gave us a sugared Chinese temple. Monsieur Preisler, our student, gave a beautiful sewing kit to my wife, ornated with pearls and entirely made in silver gilt. A lot of oranges, and a lot of almanac. January 1st, 1790. A lot of people who like me came to wish me a happy new year and brought some sugar almonds, some oranges and candles. Monsieur Klauber, my former student and friend, gave me 12 precious apple jelly jars from Rouen.
Every year, Marie-Antoinette also gave presents to her children every 1st of January, not for Christmas, and she asked to Madame Campan, her first chambermaid, to go to Paris to a merchant of toys, a toy seller. Come back with him and a selection of all the most beautiful toys and dolls which were trendy at the time, so that her children could decide and choose among all this collection of toys what they wanted. In the winter 1783-1784, she asked to Madame Campan to do the same, to go to Paris, to go to the toy merchant they used to go to, and come back with him and the selection of toys. But this winter had been already very cold, very, very cold, and Jean-Georges Ville in his diary mentioned it had been the coldest winter since 1809. So it has not been seen for a long, long time in Paris. So Marie-Antoinette asked to Madame Campan to put in display all the presents, as usual, as every year, in her room. And we are going to hear what Madame Campan writes about this special winter 1783-1784.
Prenant alors ses enfants par la main, elle leur fit voir toutes les poupées, toutes les mécaniques qui étaient rangées et leur dit qu'elle avait eu le projet de leur donner de jolies étrennes, mais que le froid rendait les pauvres si malheureux que tout son argent avait été employé en couverture et en hardes pour les garantir de la rigueur de la saison et leur donner du pain. Cette année, il n'aurait que le plaisir de voir toutes ces nouveautés et qu'un grand nombre de mères feraient la même réflexion.
So you can see that in this little passage, Madame Campan shows us a Marie-Antoinette in her best, most virtuous light, sacrificing the gifts and presents she wanted to offer to her children for the sake of the French people, and all her money would be given to poor people. So it's really nice of Madame Campan to give us all this information. Of course, she was her first chambermaid and she wants to give the best vision of Marie-Antoinette possible, but in our next episode, le Duc de Lauzun will give you some other informations about Marie-Antoinette, which will balance a bit what Madame Campan writes in her memoirs. She forgets to write a lot of things, of course, it was not the purpose of her memoirs, but le Duc de Lauzun doesn't forget these things, like the way she likes to gamble huge amount of money. She never missed any horses races and was also betting a lot of money on these horses. All these wonderful things, you will see that in our next episode.
These past weeks, I have drawn a winter collection of printable stationery inspired by my Versailles Chronicles, which includes some printable correspondence writing paper, their matching envelopes, some gift tags, some banquet menu, some winter Versailles activities, and a few more things that you will be able to download and to print instantly. And when you purchase this collection, you will also receive 2 cards in the flesh in your mailbox, a New Year card and a winter card. If you are subscribed to my newsletter, you will be notified in advance when this is available. And if you are watching this in the future, the link will be just under this video if you are interested. This winter collection will be available and for sale till the beginning of March on my website merveilleenpapier.com and on my workshop's website learnthemagicofpaper.com. Though it is not a workshop, I thought at the beginning I would have added a tiny slice of workshop with it, but I changed my mind and I keep this idea that I will include in the next Christmas workshop. So here it is just a printable stationery with 2 cards in the flesh that you will also get when you decide to get your collection. Thank you very much for watching this video, and again I wish you a very happy new year as it is the first video of the year. Don't forget to give a thumbs up if you have appreciated this video, and I will see you very soon with another one. The sleigh anecdotes come from the memoirs of Madame Campan, also available translated, The balls and the story about La Duchesse de Mazarin come from the biography of le Duc de Lauzun by Gaston Maugrat, only available in French. The diary of Jean-Georges Ville, the engraver of the king, is also a gold mine of information about the daily life in the 18th century and is only available in French and in reprint.